Tonight we delve into a story so unsettling it became the blueprint for one of the most terrifying films ever made. This is not the plot of The Exorcist. This is the real-life case that inspired it. The story of a 13-year-old boy known to the world only as Roland Doe. Our tale begins in 1949 in the quiet town of Cottage City, Maryland. A young boy, later identified as Ronald Hunkeler, was grappling with the loss of his beloved Aunt Harriet. She was a spiritualist, and to cope with his grief, Ronald began using a Ouija board, hoping to make contact with her spirit. But something else answered. It started subtly. A strange dripping sound, then scratching noises coming from inside the walls. At first, the family dismissed it, thinking it was mice. But soon the phenomena escalated. The sounds of marching feet echoed through the house when no one was there. Furniture began to move on its own. A picture of Jesus on the wall would inexplicably shake as if struck by an unseen hand. The boy's bed would vibrate violently, sometimes sliding across the room with him still in it. Desperate for answers, the family turned to science and medicine. Doctors and psychiatrists examined Ronald, but they found nothing physically or psychologically wrong with him. He was a normal, healthy teenager, but the events grew more sinister. Scratches began appearing on the boy's body, welts that formed letters and symbols. One night, a heavy armchair he was sitting in reportedly flipped over, throwing him to the floor without any apparent cause. Their local Lutheran pastor, Luther Miles Schulze, was called in. Initially skeptical, he agreed to have Ronald stay the night for observation. What he witnessed left him shaken. He heard the scratching noises from the floorboards and walls and saw the boy's bed shaking on its own. He became convinced that the family was not imagining things and that something far beyond their understanding was at play. He advised them to seek help from the Catholic Church. The family's journey led them to Georgetown University Hospital in Washington, D.C., where a priest named Father Edward Hughes attempted the first formal rite of exorcism. The attempt was a disaster. According to reports, the boy, despite being restrained, broke free. He allegedly managed to pull a piece of a bed spring from under the mattress and slashed the priest's arm, leaving a deep gash that required stitches. The ritual was halted immediately. During the turmoil, a new word mysteriously appeared in red marks on the boy's chest. Louis. Taking this as a sign, the family packed their bags and headed to St. Louis, where relatives lived, hoping to find the help they so desperately needed. In St. Louis, the case was taken up by two Jesuit priests, Father William S. Bodern and Father Walter Halloran. They would spend the next several weeks conducting over 30 exorcism sessions in what would become one of the most documented cases of its kind in modern history. The priests kept a detailed diary of the events. They reported a litany of terrifying phenomena. The boy's demeanor would shift dramatically. He would speak in a deep, guttural voice, spewing Latin phrases he had never learned, and displaying a violent aversion to anything sacred. Holy water would allegedly cause his skin to blister. Crucifixes and other religious objects would fly across the room, hurled by an invisible force. The priests documented words like hell and evil appearing as scratches on his skin. His bed would not just shake, but levitate. Father Halloran's nose was broken during one of the violent episodes. The entity tormenting the boy claimed to be a demon, and the house became a spiritual battleground. The ordeal reached its climax during the final exorcism session. The priests prayed relentlessly. Suddenly the boy's voice changed. It was no longer the guttural, demonic tone. In a clear, commanding voice, he shouted, "Satan! Satan! I am Saint Michael. I command you, Satan, and the other evil spirits to leave this body in the name of Dominus, immediately, now, now, now." What followed was a final violent convulsion. A terrifying scream echoed through the room, described by witnesses as a sound of pure agony and defeat. Then, silence. The boy fell still. When he awoke, he told the priests he had a beautiful dream of Saint Michael defeating a great evil in a fiery battle. And just like that, it was over. The scratching, the voices, the levitations, everything stopped. After the exorcism, Ronald Hunkeler's life returned to an astonishing normalcy. He went on to graduate high school, get married, and build a successful career as an engineer for NASA, even contributing to the Apollo missions that put men on the moon. He never once spoke publicly about the events of 1949. He lived a quiet, unassuming life until his death in 2020 at the age of 85. For him, the nightmare was over, a sealed chapter of his past. But with a story this dramatic, controversy is inevitable. Over the years, skeptics and investigators have picked the case apart. Journalist Mark Opsasnik, after interviewing neighbors and family friends, suggested many of the more sensational details, like the levitating bed and Latin speaking, might have been exaggerated over time, passed from person to person like a game of telephone. Skeptic Joe Nickell proposed that Ronald might have been a troubled teenager, secretly orchestrating the events himself to get attention or escape school, possibly with the unconscious help of his family. Nickell points out that many of the phenomena, like scratching noises and moving furniture, could be faked by a clever child. However, the Catholic Church stands by its account. The Archdiocese of St. Louis holds the official records of the exorcism, including Father Bodern's detailed diary, which he maintained until his death, always insisting that what he witnessed was a genuine case of demonic possession. The sheer number of witnesses, including multiple priests, doctors, and family members, makes it difficult to dismiss the entire event as a hoax or a delusion. Were they all mistaken? Or did they truly witness a battle for a young boy's soul? Regardless of what one believes, the legacy of Roland Doe's exorcism is undeniable. In 1971, author William Peter Blatty, who had learned of the case while he was a student at Georgetown University, used it as the direct inspiration for his novel, The Exorcist. The book and the subsequent 1973 film became a cultural phenomenon, terrifying audiences worldwide and single-handedly reviving public fascination with the concepts of exorcism and demonic possession. The film wasn't just a horror movie. It was based on a diary, on witness testimonies, on a story that the Catholic Church itself confirmed as true. So, what really happened in that Maryland home and the St. Louis hospital room all those years ago? Was it a case of mass hysteria? A troubled boy's cry for help? Or was it a genuine confrontation with an ancient evil? The boy at the center of it all took his secrets to the grave, leaving us with a story that continues to haunt and fascinate. A story that reminds us that sometimes the truth can be far stranger and far more terrifying than fiction. Thank you so much for watching. What do you believe happened to Roland Doe? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the unknown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories. Until next time, stay curious.